Please, come home right now. I desperately pleaded with my husband when I finally got through to him on the phone. He responded lazily, "What's the rush? It's terrible. Our daughter has been in an accident." An accident? You're being dramatic. Besides, I'm about to go out drinking. See ya. And make sure you do the housework. With that, he hung up on me. The dial tone pierced my ears, mixing with the sound of the ambulance siren. How dare he? Our daughter's been in an accident, and he's going drinking. You've got to be kidding me. What kind of father is that? He might as well not exist. I made up my mind to divorce him. But as it turned out, that wasn't the only punishment heading his way. My name is Karma, and I'm 34. I work as a nurse at a university hospital. My husband Milo is the same age, and will soon celebrate our 7th wedding anniversary. Our daughter Nikki just turned 5 the other day. Since we have a young child, I work day shifts instead of night shifts. Although my salary is lower than before I had the baby, working at a large hospital still provides decent income. With our daughter being so young, we'll need plenty of money for her future, so I've been diligently saving bit by bit. Then one day, when I checked Nikki's bank account for the first time in a year, I discovered something shocking. What? What is this? I couldn't believe my eyes. The account balance, which should have been around $20,000, had dwindled to just $3,000. I have my salary automatically set up to transfer a fixed amount to Nikki's account each month. I know I've been making those transfers consistently over the past year. Not only that, but I found evidence of regular withdrawals of $2,000 and $3,000. Nikki is far too young to make such withdrawals herself. That left only one possible culprit, my husband, Milo. Ever since our daughter was born, Milo hasn't been very involved in childcare, often coming home late due to overtime work and drinking parties. Usually, I'd be asleep by the time he got home, but this time I couldn't let it slide. When was the last time we had dinner together as a family? As I pondered this, waiting for him to return, I finally heard the front door open just after midnight. His face was flushed, he was clearly quite drunk. Unable to contain my emotions, I confronted him. Milo, we need to talk. Huh? What's this all about? Why do you look so scary? Of course I do. I'm angry. Angry? Why? Did I do something? Apparently, my husband had no intention of confessing about the bank account on his own. He probably thought he could just keep it hidden. If it wasn't discovered, everything would be fine. I could see right through his shallow scheme. Furious, I raised my voice without meaning to. You know I've been saving money every month in Nikki's account, right? Huh? What about it? Don't play dumb. There should be $20,000 saved up, but there's only $3,000 left. Why are you asking me about this? Are you serious? You're the one who's been making regular withdrawals from Nikki's account, aren't you? When I pressed him hard, my husband obviously avoided eye contact, looking away. He neither admitted his guilt nor gave a clear denial. Just the fact that he couldn't firmly deny it proved he was the culprit. My anger bubbled up, and I fixed him with a stern gaze. give it back. The money I worked so hard to save. You can't just demand that out of nowhere. You took it out and spent it without permission, didn't you? Well, give it back. You get a regular salary too, so you must have some savings, right? Well, about that. I don't. I don't have any savings at all. That's why I was borrowing money from Nikki's account. My husband said such an absurd thing while smiling casually. My anger turned to disbelief, and I lost the energy to even be angry anymore. How can he act like this? After secretly using up the savings I'd put aside for our daughter. I can't believe he turned out to be this kind of person. With mixed feelings, my mind started wandering. Was it my fault for not properly managing Milo's finances? Because I didn't regularly check the balance? Or was marrying Milo the mistake in the first place? My earlier anger had vanished, and I found myself falling into self-loathing. As I sat in silence, my husband spoke up, sounding slightly irritated. You don't need to be so angry. I'm barely getting by on my salary too, you know. Barely getting by. When you only contribute $1,000 for living expenses. Unlike you, I have business, entertainment, and other expenses. You wouldn't understand, but company employees have social obligations that cost money. Does that make it okay to take money from your daughter's account? I had no choice. If you think about future promotions, I can't turn down invitations to go drinking. I see. But you'll pay back what you used, right? I made this point to my husband as he was trying to leave the living room. He paused for a moment at my words but then just heaved a big sigh and went to the changing room. As soon as I was alone in the room, an indescribable feeling of emptiness washed over me. How did things end up like this? I was too exhausted to even think about it anymore. After all that hard work saving. He probably won't pay it back, even after all I've said. I'll have to start saving from scratch again. After this incident, I changed the PIN for Nikki's account. To be extra careful, I moved the ATM card and bankbook to a different location. Thanks to these efforts, the unauthorized withdrawals from my daughter's account stopped. I developed a habit of checking the balance every month, and the savings started growing steadily again. But I found myself facing a new problem. Recently, my husband had been acting strangely. Despite his love for drinking parties, he'd never been particularly eager to go to work before. He used to leave for work in the mornings with lifeless eyes and low energy. But over the past few months, he transformed completely, getting up properly every morning, eating breakfast, and cheerfully saying, "I'm off," to the family before heading out. At first, our daughter was happy to chat with her suddenly cheerful father in the mornings, but lately, she's been looking at him coldly and doesn't approach him like she used to. Moreover, she started asking, "Mama, do you love Papa?" whenever something happens. That day, while having dinner just the two of us, she quietly muttered, "I like it better when it's just you and me, Mama. You're the only one I love." Her unexpected words made me stop eating. I couldn't understand why she'd suddenly say such a thing. "Nikki? What's wrong? Why are you saying this all of a sudden?" "Because Papa is doing bad things." "I know he is." "What do you mean? Did Papa do something to you?" "No, not to me. Papa told a lady who isn't you that he loves her. What? Nikki, when did you hear this? I got up at night to go to the bathroom, and Papa was in the living room. He was on the phone, telling someone, I love you. Mama, you told me before, right? That we can like lots of people, but we only say, I love you to special people. Come to think of it, my daughter had asked me about this before. Mama, what's the difference between like and love? She'd asked. That's a tricky one. You like your good friends and teachers, right? Yes, I like them. Mama likes her friends and the people she works with too. But there's a special kind of like that we call love. What do you mean? We can like many people, but Mama only loves you and Papa. It means someone is extra special among all the people you like. Do you understand? My daughter had thought about it for a moment, then brightened up and hugged me, saying, I love you and Papa too. She must have understood the meaning of love in her own way then. It's a special feeling that goes beyond just liking someone. That's probably why she felt something was wrong when she heard her father telling someone else, I love you. I was honestly impressed that someone so young could understand such a thing. Still, I couldn't let her keep worrying about this. I managed to smooth things over by telling her, Papa was probably talking to Grandma on the phone, but I decided to investigate these suspicions of infidelity after she went to bed. I turned my attention to the tablet my husband usually uses. Either because he knew I wasn't tech-savvy or because he was confident it wouldn't be discovered, the tablet wasn't locked. As I checked through the apps one by one, I found an unfamiliar messaging app. When I nervously tapped it and checked the chat history, sure enough, it contained exchanges with his affair partner. This can't be true. Why is this happening? Their messages were too explicit to repeat. Beyond just, I like you, and I love you, there were many graphic exchanges that made me feel physically ill. I rushed to the bathroom and threw up everything I'd eaten for dinner. Tears welled up and started flowing at the same time. Why? Why have an affair? Were the drinking parties and overtime work all lies too? I stayed in the bathroom for a while until I could compose myself. When I returned to the living room, I decided to first transfer the evidence of the affair to my own phone. I silently copied over their chat exchanges and the photos of them together stored in his folders. Fighting the urge to scream from anger and shock, I focused entirely on the task at hand. Talking to my husband now would only lead to an emotional outburst. So I decided to have the discussion tomorrow. The next morning, I told my husband, still in his pajamas, I need to talk to you about something, so please come home early today. He just gave an absent-minded response while looking at his phone. I couldn't focus on work all day, constantly sighing. As I drove to the daycare center to pick up my daughter, my mind was in turmoil. As soon as I arrived at the daycare center, I noticed a crowd of people. When I got out of the car and approached, I found my daughter Nikki collapsed on the ground. Nikki? What happened? As I rushed over, one of the daycare teachers apologetically explained, we were out for a walk, and on our way back, a car drove into the line of children. What do you mean? Is Nikki okay? We've called an ambulance. It should be here soon. Oh no. My daughter slightly opened her eyes and whispered, "Mama." I held her tightly as we waited for the ambulance to arrive. She received first aid treatment, and the paramedics said her life wasn't in danger. Somewhat relieved, I tried to contact my husband. But no matter how many times I called, he wouldn't answer. Even if he was at work, he always keeps his phone with him. After calling dozens of times, I finally heard his voice saying, "Hello? Milo, please. Come home right now." When I desperately pleaded with my finally connected husband, he responded lazily, "What's the rush? It's terrible. Nikki has been in an accident." "An accident?" "Yes. She's in an ambulance right now. They say her life isn't in danger, but..." "You're being dramatic. Besides, I'm about to go out drinking. See ya. And make sure you do the housework." With that, he hung up on me. The dial tone pierced my ears, mixing with the sound of the ambulance siren. At that moment, all my pent-up anger exploded. How dare he? Our daughter's been in an accident, and he's going drinking. You've got to be kidding me. What kind of father is that? He might as well not exist. I'm divorcing that worthless man. For now, I decided to focus only on my daughter. While her condition was stable and she didn't need surgery, the doctors wanted to keep her in the hospital for a few days as a precaution. Since she was taken to the hospital where I work, my colleagues offered kind words of support. The doctor who examined her was also an acquaintance, so he did a very thorough examination. I stayed by my daughter's side, spending the night at the hospital. Around 4 a.m., a nurse I know came to visit the room. "Karma, I'm sorry to bother you when your daughter is in such a state." "No, it's fine. She seems stable." "Did something happen?" "Well, your husband was just brought in." "What? My husband?" "Yes, he's seriously injured." According to the story, my husband had slipped and fallen downstairs while heavily intoxicated. In addition to injuries all over his body, he had broken his right leg. When my colleague led me to his room, I found him there with his right leg in a cast and suspended in the air. "Oh, Karma." The moment he saw me, he made a guilty face. I gave him a contemptuous look. "Getting so drunk you fall downstairs and end up at your wife's workplace, how much more shame are you going to bring me? That's not fair. Besides, this wasn't because I was drunk. I just happened to slip." "Save your excuses. You were drinking heavily, weren't you? Even though our daughter had been in an accident and taken away in an ambulance. What's with that attitude? Is that the first thing you say? Shouldn't a wife normally be worried about her husband? Why should I worry about someone who's about to become a stranger?" "Ha!" My husband stared at me with wide eyes, looking dumbfounded. He clearly didn't understand what I meant. Of course not. It hadn't crossed his mind for even a second that I might know about his affair. "What do you mean?" To my confused husband, I continued calmly, "What do I mean? Exactly what I said. When you betray your family, divorce is only natural, right? What are you?" "I already know about your affair." "How did you?" "I thought I had hidden it perfectly." As he held his head in his hands, turning pale. I didn't even have the energy to sigh. Then from behind me, I heard "Mama." When I turned around, there was Nikki. The moment my husband saw our daughter, he desperately called out, "Nikki, you want to stay with Papa, don't you?" "No. I don't want to be with you anymore. I hate Papa. I hate anyone who hurts Mama." "Nikki, why are you saying such things?" To my distraught husband, I revealed the truth. "Just so you know, I wasn't the one who discovered your affair. It was Nikki." "What? What are you talking about?" "She overheard you secretly talking on the phone, saying 'I love you' to your affair partner. She told me about it." "That's..." My husband turned deathly pale, the light fading from his eyes. As he stopped resisting, I gave him one final cold look and declared, "We don't need trash like you in our lives. Don't ever show your face to us again." Holding my daughter's hand, I silently left the hospital room. After making sure my daughter was discharged, I packed our belongings, and we immediately headed to my parents' house. Leaving my daughter with my parents, I rushed to the hospital with divorce papers. As it happened, my in-laws were there visiting, so I made him sign the divorce papers in their presence. Later, I hired a lawyer and demanded compensation from both Milo and his affair partner. I also demanded child support from Milo. It turned out his affair partner was a colleague, and because of this incident, both Milo and she were transferred to different branch offices. Their salaries were reduced, and their chances for promotion vanished instantly. From now on, he'll struggle with paying both compensation and child support. He won't be having an ordinary life for quite a while. It serves him right, he brought this on himself. As for me, I started a new life with just my daughter. Since she helps with the housework, we're actually enjoying our life together more than I expected. "Mama, let's make pancakes together this weekend." "That sounds wonderful. Should we add ice cream toppings?" "Yes. And let's pile on lots of fruit and whipped cream too." "All right. We'll go shopping for everything we need." Yay! I'm not alone. I have my daughter, my parents who watch over her, and colleagues who support me. I want to cherish all these connections and keep doing my best with my daughter.